Right, all right. Good morning, good morning. No, no. All right, good morning, good morning. Appreciate you guys being here. We are gonna be starting out this week, and I hope you guys were able to register for the field trip. There's one this Saturday that registration is closed, but they do have one still open registration for the 14th of February. But that closes, I'm assuming, this week too. So if you haven't registered yet, it would be awesome if you would register so you could make some money for yourself. All right, so we will be starting soon. All right, make sure you're logged in, make sure this, because we have uh the assistants that are paying attention and they keep track of everything to make sure that you get credit for everything. All right, all right. So we will start now. Good morning, everybody. I appreciate you guys coming in, being part of the program. Hopefully, you guys are turning on all your stuff so you can get credit. Make sure that, and make sure not to forget this is a um internship. So all your work is important because that's how we ensure that you guys get paid. So with that being said, we will continue moving on forward. So is there any announcements, Joanna, that I should let you take care of before we start?
Yep. So welcome. Good morning, everyone. So if you are an alumni, please add alumni before your name. And if you're a student leader, please add SL before your name. So just please make sure to turn on your camera so that you could be visible to the facilitator and we could record your attendance correctly. And if you're having some technical issues, if you're in a school activity or you need to be excused, please message our attendance, that is Beulah, for today so that we could mark your participation as excused. So I'm going to pass it back to Pablo. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you guys. So we're gonna be starting. Like we're being talking about everything coming up to these presentations. Is gonna be financial. That's why we're having the field trip with the JD Financial Park is all lined up with this. So you have the basics of taxes, you have the basics of finances. Today's gonna be slightly more detail oriented. It's gonna be focusing on taxes, and this is something that is super important. Taxes are taxes. Taxes are important. So it's good for us to kind of understand this because this is something that we're going to deal with for the rest of your lives. Could who raise your guys' digital hand? Who has a job already? Who works? Who works legally? That's why I know you guys are from 16 to 17, so no one, well, we got one. That's cool. Someone will prioritize his income. That's good. But you're going to pay taxes. You're going to see your check. Everything is taxes. It is what it is. I pay taxes. You pay taxes. We all pay taxes. Even if I don't want to pay taxes, there's ways to minimize your tax debt, Like I have different residencies in different states, so I don't pay income tax, so there's ways to get around it. But there's ways that you can't do anything about it. But we're gonna start with the emotions wheel right now. And the emotions wheel is how are you feeling right now? Pick the three emotions. Start with the outside, center, middle. I mean middle center. So like right now I could be like, I'm confident, I'm trusting, and I'm happy. That would be mine. So what would be your guys' three that you would consider important to you guys? All right, cool. Appreciate you guys. All right, appreciate you, Ms. Batres. Appreciate you, Ms. Raga. Appreciate you guys. All right. All right, about 10 more people to start typing in what they want, and then we'll continue on with the presentation. All right, as we start heading forward, one more minute, just get the last stragglers, and we will go on to that. All right. Thank you, Mr. Zavala. Thank you, Ms. Tapia. Thank you, Ms. Perez. Thank you, Mr. Lomeli. All right. So I'll stop sharing and we'll continue our thing. Today's gonna be I'm gonna be trying to break down the aspects of taxes. Trying to break down to make it's not an easy subject because you're never gonna learn, but we all can understand the foundation of it. Some of you guys are gonna take classes in college, some of you guys get that, but it still doesn't guarantee that you'll understand everything. Taxes is a large, large subject. There's people who go to school, there's government organizations dedicated to understanding, to growing, to benefiting the taxes, you know. So here we go. We'll go move on to the next PowerPoint slide. All right, last week, like how we're talking about this last couple weeks were finances leading up to the field trip. That's based off finances. It's a good one. I hope you guys signed up, and if not, you guys can still sign up for the 14th. I believe I might be heading out there on this weekend, but I'm not 100% sure yet. All right. Explore how money grows through savings, investings, and compound interest, and why starting early matters. Then we also talked about risk, inflation, and we talked about different investments. Now this is a class dedicated just for the taxes, just for taxes. We're going to be focusing on just that aspect because that alone deserves one day, if not a whole year, so you guys could truly understand. So we'll go on to the next slide. All right, learning objectives. If I could have Miss Eileen Martinez read the first bullet point, please.
Understand the purpose of taxes and their role in funding public services.
All right, thank you. If I could have Mariana Cisqueros read the second bullet point.
Identify main tax types, income, sales, property, payroll, and their
Contributions.
contributions to government responsibility.
All right, thank you. If I could get Israel Hernandez read the third bullet point.
Learn the basics of tax filing, including paycheck reading, deductions, and tax refund payment calculations for responsible financial planning.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hernandez. So yeah, today we're gonna be it's the understand the purpose of tax and the rules. Taxes pay for your school, taxes pay for your university, college you're gonna go to, taxes, local taxes and Melrose pay for the streets, If they're in good conditions, the government's taking care. If your streets are in bad condition, the government, is short on money or not handling wisely. Everything we buy, we pay a little bit of taxes. You go shopping for clothes, you pay taxes. You go shopping for um everything, you pay taxes on everything. So that would be how we head forward. And then we'll be learning to understand. Some of you, the few individuals at work should be able to understand how to read their paycheck. If not, they'll get a better understanding. How they remove it for Social Security, they remove it for state taxes, federal taxes. They all take care of their business. So we'll jump on to the next slide. All right. What are taxes and why do we pay them? This is kind of like I was breaking down just a moment ago. Taxes are money we pay to the government. Simple. That's as simple explanations as it get. Any money that we make, we have to pay taxes. Any money that we make, we have to pay taxes. So that's no way around it. The government will get their money, but these services pay, like how I said, for schools, for streets, for highways. They pay for hospitals. They pay for the police station, sheriff station. They pay for infrastructure. When you're you have power in your house, because the government subsidized power companies. You have certain technologies, the government that even cell phone towers, the wireless services that they use are government approved, and the cell phone services have to pay their taxes for them. And then, like how we say, everyone pays in different ways. Everyone pays taxes. That's what we're going to learn from here. Say when you buy things at the grocery store, sodas, you pay taxes. You buy anything, anytime you're swiping your debit card, anytime you're moving forward, you pay taxes. So it's very important to understand that, that taxes is part of everything. You start working, the more money you make, the more taxes you pay. It's like a general scale. Say if you make under $10,000 a month, you make under, say, $1,000 a month, you pay minimal taxes. You make 3,000, you pay a little more. You make 6,000 a month, you pay a little bit more. You make $10,000, you pay a lot more. And the more money you make, the more money you pay. And then different governments use taxes. So we all have, the federal government has the main principal tax. That's the Fed. Then every state has their own tax. So like say for example, the federal government's at 25%. The state of California adds another 10%. So that's 35%. And that's guaranteed in California. If you lived in different other states, we could break it down that some states pay a lot less, or some states don't pay income taxes. For example, Oregon and Nevada, they have minimal or zero income taxes. And there's a lot of people who live in those states but work in California just to avoid that 10%, 10 to 11% tax that could easily add up. Paying taxes is good though. It's part of being a responsible citizen. Because you can't complain that the roads suck, if you can't complain that, you're not getting the basic services and sanitary sewer lines without taxes. Taxes is needed to fund all that. It's part of being a good duty, even if people try to run from it. But taxes is very important to have a functional society. All the luxuries we have the living in the United States that you guys grew up with are tax based. A lot of countries don't have taxes, but they also have different ways of functioning. So taxes is something very huge that we all need to consider and we all should consider paying. So we'll go on to the next slide. All right. But let's watch a quick video before we answer this question. Taxes 101. We're just going to be breaking down taxes little by little and focusing on learning taxes. Look, this is not an exciting topic, but it's an important topic. We got to consider it. The taxes are either going to make you or break you. And understanding that now, you can start being a productive individual. So we'll let this run through.
Meet Ray. Ray is an incoming senior at State University who just finished up a summer internship at Corporate Co. Ray had a great experience and also made a lot of money. This is great news, but there is one problem. Ray has no idea how to pay his taxes, or even if the money he made requires him to do so. What should Ray do? Well, we've got him covered. Let's start with the basics. How does the US tax system actually work? Paying your taxes is a lot like filling up a line of progressively larger buckets. Each bucket corresponds to a specific tax rate, like 10%, and to a specific range of income, like 0 to 9,225. As your income grows, you fill up more and more of these buckets, called brackets, each one with its own tax rate. In addition to this, you'll also need to pay what's called a FICA tax, which is the flat 7.65% tax on any money you've earned. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, unfortunately, taxes in real life are a bit more complicated, so let's use a more detailed example. Let's say Ray made $30,000 last year. That's his gross income, literally the amount of money he made at Corporate Co before taxes. This number can then be refined into what's called AGI by subtracting certain expenses called adjustments, also known as above-the-line deductions. For example, if Ray paid $1,000 in combined student loan interest, his AGI would move from $30,000 to $29,000. This number can be then lowered even further if Ray takes an exemption. An exemption is a flat $4,000 reduction in AGI available to each taxpayer for himself, his spouse, and each one of his dependents. For example, if Ray takes his exemption, his AGI, currently at $29,000, will be lowered to $25,000. Ray can then lower this number even further by taking a deduction. Unlike exemptions, deductions depend on the expenses of each taxpayer. So what does that even mean? Well, there are several types of expenses, like charitable donations or mortgage interest, that can be used to lower AGI. These are called itemized or below-the-line deductions. If Ray lacks these specific expenses, he can instead take a standard deduction, which is a flat $6,300 reduction in AGI as of 2015. However, there's a catch. If you choose to take the standard deduction, you can't also itemize your deductions, so be sure to pick whichever one is greater. So, let's assume Ray takes the standard deduction. That means his AGI, currently sitting at $25,000, will be lowered to $18,700. That number is Ray's taxable income, literally the amount of money eligible to be taxed by the IRS. From there, if Ray plugs that number into the 2015 tax brackets, he'll find he owes about $2,300 in federal income tax. Considering that Ray started with $30,000 in gross income, this seems like a pretty good deal. However, there's actually one more tool Ray can use to save money: tax credits. Unlike exemptions and deductions, which lower AGI, tax credits directly lower your actual tax payments. For example, let's say Ray is eligible for a $1,000 tax credit. This credit can then be used to offset his $2,300 tax bill, leaving him owing about $1,300 in income tax, plus the money for the FICA tax, which will have already been automatically taken out of his paycheck by his employer. So that's the end of taxes, right? Well, not quite. Ray may also have to supplement his federal taxes with state income taxes. Thankfully, however, these taxes are calculated in a very similar manner to federal taxes and are almost always lower. Hopefully you and Ray now better understand how taxes work. Be sure to check out our next video, where we'll teach you whether or not.
All right, that's just the very basics of, again, just reiterating what we're going to be talking about over and over. All right, now this is a simple question. List 3 things you use or benefit every day that are paid by taxes. So list them out in the chat, please. All right. Remember, list 3 things that you benefit every day from taxes. Like someone mentioned right away, roads. That's a very important one. All right, school, library, roads. Roads, schools, libraries. Yep. All right. Sidewalks, schools, police, firemen. Oh yeah, firemen too. That's a huge one. Schools, roads, parks, schools, roads, education. Pretty much they benefit all those things that you never pay attention to, that's how they benefit from. You benefit from those. All right, cool, cool, cool. Let's get it. All right, cool. Yep, it's very simple. Everything that we use, buses, public transportation, stuff like that, also subways. I know you guys have some that go underground. So those are all part of it. Good job, guys. Appreciate you guys. And we'll move on to the next one. All right. This is where we break down actually what they tax. Like how I said earlier, income tax. Any money you make has to be paid. Has to be paid. So the income tax is you have to pay it. So if you imagine what you do is anything you do that and you get paid is income taxable. Anything, everything you do. Once you get paid, they usually withhold the taxes from you. Then, like how we were talking about, sales tax added to things you buy. Everything we buy, we understand that shirt is 20 bucks, but when we finish paying for it, it's $22 because it includes the the taxes. Even when you buy cars, you're like, all right, this car costs 30 grand. After taxes and fees, you're paying around 35 grand because of taxes. And you're financing that also. So everything we touch is taxed. Then property tax. Once you guys purchase a home, which many of you guys will, you're going to pay taxes on the home and on the land. Or so that's also something for the rest of your time period. And those taxes are based off the price you buy the property at. And then payroll taxes. Payroll is also included in your paycheck. It's also one of the part of the income taxes taken out of your check. Also payroll taxes like Social Security and Medi-Cal. Those are fees that you guys pay in every check. As I'm showing the breakdown, you'll see that. I wish I should have brought a check stub with me, but you see it where they get charged. You see your check gross, and then you see income tax, then you see Social Security tax, then you see Medicare, and you'll see some other little ones in there too that's deducted from your check, and then you get your net pay. And your net pay is what you get paid after you pay all your taxes. So again, these are the main type of taxes, but there's even taxes that there's no point to get in because it's a huge subject. So let's keep the very basic and the very foundation of this. So we'll go on to the next slide. Oh, and other taxes. Like we said, gas tax, everything you buy, there's taxes. And capital gains tax is a little bit more unique because that's now on investments. Say you invest $1,000 in tax in stocks, the next year you pull that 2,000 out because of that, you pay taxes on that 2,000. But we'll go to the next slide. All right, now we'll watch another quick video just to kind of re-hone everything. So we will watch, let's see. We're gonna explain the tax system in less than 10 minutes. So this video is gonna break down what you're even looking at in the check. So those are things that this is going to be a lot more details. It's going to go deeper and it's going to visually show you what they're taking apart and what they're doing for that. So we'll start right now. All right. So you see taxes is going to get complicated. It's not easy. It's it's it could get complicated real fast, but we're just keep it simple. This is just a taste of something that you're going to experience for the rest of your life. Some of you guys are even going to go on to school and study this, and which is not a bad idea because it gets complicated every year. There's tax lawyers, there's tax professionals like certified public attendants, there's accountants, there's a lot of people who dedicate their lives to this. So if we could just go back one page real quick, because this type is pick a tax and explain what it's used for. Why do you think it's important? So we'll go back just one slide and these are the most common ones. So you're gonna pick one of these: sales, income, payroll taxes, property tax, or other taxes. And why could it be useful? So remember, there's no wrong answers here. So we'll go back to the question, and you guys will be answering that question. Pick one type of tax and explain what it's used for. Why do you think it's for it? Now, again, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all relevant. So light up the chat little by little. Well, I'll give you a couple minutes here because this is slightly a little bit more question, and we'll go from there. All right, income tax, a lot of them. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. Payroll taxes, everyone can afford healthcare. Well said. Thank you, Leonardo. Thank you, Ms. Chiraz. All right, thank you, Mr. Allen. Thank you, Ms. Balon. Alan. Income taxes. Thank you, Ms. Batres. Israel Hernandez. Good looking. Ms. Perez. Cool. All right, we're just missing a couple more people and we get it popping. All right, income tax, property tax, payroll tax. Yep, payroll tax is linked to all that. Thank you, Miss Maria. Jacob Ruiz. House income tax helps the city. Yep, very true. So a couple more and we'll get it going. Once they get it going, let's figure it out. Okay, cool. So we will. All right, cool. So we'll go on to the next slide. Appreciate you guys taking time to answer the questions. And these are also part of your workbook. Some of them are in your workbook questions, so it helps you take care of business. All right, what you need to know about filing taxes. Now, like the video said, she broke it down and gave you various examples of stuff that, some of the stuff that she mentioned, I don't use, but a lot of stuff that like you have to take it in consideration. Because even for example, when I come teach here, they give me a certain stipend. They don't take the taxes, they don't take anything. So I have to report that to my local government and be like, hey, this is a 1099. So because when I get paid through here. So what you need to know about filing taxes. Filing a tax return. Remember, there's always going to be the federal government. So we already know what that is, the feds. There's the overarching nationwide government. Then the state, which is California in this position. So filing a tax return means telling the government how much you earned and how much tax you already paid. So when you look at how much tax you already paid on a traditional job, they take out the taxes from you. In a traditional job, they take out the taxes. So, in a traditional job, if you're working 9 to 5, working for that, you might get money back or refunded because the government takes those taxes and they hold it. And then when you file your taxes, most of the time you get refunds. And sometimes if you have kids already, you get a little bit more of a refund. It depends your situation. The tax law is always changing and trying to be as fluid as possible so we could keep going that. You might owe money. That's also, for me, usually is a case that I owe money. So I file my taxes and have to pay to file my taxes. So every year I owe between $1,000 to $10,000 that I gotta pay in taxes, and that's even with they withhold certain tax earnings. But I plan for that accordingly. Say if I get $100 of money that hasn't been taxed, I put away $30 of it always because I know I have to pay taxes on that, and I don't want to have any issues in the future. All right. It's easier than it sounds. Yes, there's a lot of big words. Yes, there's a lot of terms. There's a lot of codes, 1099s, W-2s, W-4s, and in that situation. But right now it seems overbearing because when I first started learning about taxes, like, dang, like, this is a lot more complicated it is. But there is professionals who do it, but there's a lot of programs and technologies that also help you process everything for you. So in that way, we are don't need to stress about this. This is something that's natural. And we make under I think under 11 to 20,000, like you pay minimal taxes. So this all of that we're trying to establish here through Youth Champions that you start paying attention now, understanding the basics, understanding different things so you could so you don't go into this blind. You start learning now. If you learn now, it gets easier and easier every time to understand it, easier and easier and every time to build and grow in your tax knowledge because learning the tax game is important. It's gonna save you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, and depending on who you become to be, maybe millions of dollars a year. So every year you're saving thousands, getting returned thousands if you understand it. If you don't take care of your taxes, you're letting the government, which is dealing with millions of people, and the federal government, which is dealing with 300 million people, to watch your money and taxes. And trust me, if you pay more and you don't say anything, it will stay in the government's hands. So right now, this is tip number one. Understand taxes. Why? So you make sure you keep more money. There's ways to avoid paying taxes. Learn that. I'm not saying evade taxes, just avoid, there's legal maneuvers to avoid paying taxes. You donate money to organizations, you get tax returns. You save money. There's always ways to avoid. And if you start a business, then the legalities of tax avoidance opens up extremely. We're not evading taxes. We're just avoiding them through legal manners to not pay certain amount of taxes and lower our tax burden. So we will go to our next slide. All right, transfer is calculated. Let me see the last video if we could pay here. All right, we're gonna watch it's a slightly longer video. We're only going to watch part of it, but we're gonna watch the video that tax basics for beginners. We're really just gonna be repeating a lot of stuff and just adding things to these videos. But there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of things that we need to understand. So we're just going to be reiterating. This is only 1 hour of your life. This is a subject that you're going to deal with for the rest of your life. And it's very important to understand that.
Welcome to Taxes 101. Class is now in session. No, but in all seriousness, on this channel, we make a lot of advanced tax and business videos, and sometimes the information can be too complex for people who are just getting started. So today, I want to reel us back in and set up a foundation that gives all of our new subscribers the tax basics for beginners. And look, if you watch this entire video, then by the end of it, you should understand more about how the tax system works, how taxes are calculated. So we'll be looking at taxable income, tax deductions, and tax credits. We'll also talk about why taxes work differently for businesses and investors than they do for everyday W-2 workers. We'll review how to file a tax return, and lastly, how to put together a tax plan that works for you. And I'm excited to get started. So if all this sounds good to you, then my one request is for you to hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm so this video reaches more American taxpayers who need to learn about how taxes work. Stay tuned. Hey there, and if you're new, welcome to our channel. I'm Sean with Life Accounting, the accounting company that helps you save on taxes and build more wealth. Now, before I dive in, I want you to know that I'm going to put timestamps for this video down in the description below so that you can skip to the parts that you want to learn the most about. Although if you are a beginner, then I would recommend that you watch this entire video because each point builds off the next point. And if you are already familiar with how the tax system works, then you may find this video gives you a great refresher or just more reassurance. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with number one. What are taxes and why do we need them? So in the United States, we have public services such as public education, postal services, law enforcement, healthcare, and we invest in innovation and technology. Now, the people and organizations that execute these public services, of course, need to be paid. And so we as Americans pay for these services indirectly through taxes. And because these public services are offered on the state and federal level, we of course then pay state and federal taxes. Okay, an example of a state service may be something like fire stations in your state, and an example of a federal service may be the federal military. Now, of course, our tax dollars also go to other international and military affairs as well. And so you may be thinking, well, why do we care about the rest of the world? We should just focus on our country. Well, here's the thing, okay? We benefit greatly from global commerce, supply chains, different routes, alliances, and strategic partnerships all around the world, which I believe makes us one of the great nations. And when you are a business owner or investor, then you help contribute greatly to this commerce, which is a win-win for you and the government. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a few. Next, let's talk about number two, how the tax system works. So theoretically, the tax code and system are very simple, okay? It is set up in a way that makes everyone pay their fair share of taxes. So on the money you make and take home, there is a certain percentage that you must pay in taxes. But having a simple tax rate that applies to everyone isn't fair because, for example, if someone takes home $200,000 and then they have to pay a 30% tax rate, then they'd be left over with $140,000, which is enough to have a great lifestyle. On the other hand, if someone earns $40,000 and then they have to pay 30% in taxes, then they'd only have $28,000 left over, which is barely enough to make ends meet. So instead of having a flat tax rate in the United States that applies to everyone, we have what is called a progressive tax system, where you pay higher tax rates as your income increases. And this is what helps makes the system a little bit more fair because it gives people with lower income a tax advantage to make a come up. Now, these tax rates are reflected as tax brackets, and I'll go ahead and put up on the screen right now the tax brackets for 2022. Here you can see as a single taxpayer, you would pay a 10% tax rate on your first $10,275 of taxable income, then 12% on your next $10,276 to $41,775 of taxable income, then 22% on the next $41,776 to $89,075 of income, and so on. And remember, you are taxed progressively. So for example, if you make $100,000, even though that puts you in the 24% tax bracket, you wouldn't pay a flat 24% tax rate. Instead, you would only be taxed 24% on the income you made between $89,076 and $100,000, which in this case means only $10,924 would be taxed at the 24% tax rate, and the rest would be taxed at the other tax rates. Okay, so hopefully I didn't lose you with all the math, but just to reel things back in, what you need to know is that the US has a progressive tax system, which means that people with higher taxable incomes are subject to higher tax rates, and people with lower taxable incomes are subject to lower income tax rates. And this makes the tax system fair. Okay, now that you understand that, let's move into number three, how taxes are calculated. So how much you need to pay in taxes depends on your taxable income, okay? Not your total income, but your taxable income. So your taxable income is what you have left over after any tax deductions. Now, by default, Every American taxpayer is given what is known as a standard deduction. And the amount of your standard deduction depends on your filing status, whether you are filing single, filing married jointly or married separately, or filing head of the household, for example. I'll go ahead and put up on the screen right now the standard deduction amounts for 2022. So for example, if you made $40,000 of income as a single filer, then you would have a standard deduction of $12,950, which would make your taxable income $27,050, and that is the amount that you would pay taxes on. But there are many other tax deductions that can help you reduce your taxable income outside of the standard deduction, which, by the way, I'll link a video on 15 tax strategies to reduce your W-2 taxes at the end of this video so you can watch that after you finish this one. And if you need help with tax prep or tax planning, then check out the first link down in the description below. Anyway, to simplify how you calculate your taxes, you would take your total income minus all your qualified deductions to get your taxable income. Then you would get a tentative tax owed, because before you get to your final tax, you must also factor in what is called tax credits, which is why we need to talk about number 4 and note the difference between tax deductions and tax credits. So with our last example, I basically demonstrated how tax deductions are applied against your income, and thus they help you calculate your taxable income and can help reduce your taxable income. For example, using fake numbers, someone could have $100,000 in income, then have $25,000 in deductions, which calculates a $75,000 taxable income. On the other hand, tax credits are applied to your tax liability. For example, if someone had $100,000 in income, then $25,000 in deductions, that will calculate a $75,000 taxable income. And they may have a tax liability after all of that of $10,000. Well, if they had a tax credit of, let's say, $3,000, then that tax credit would be applied to their tax liability, and thus they would only need to pay $7,000 in taxes after that credit was applied. So most people tend to love tax credits more than tax deductions because they do provide a stronger benefit. But in general, I would always say you shouldn't strive to chase as many tax deductions or tax credits that you can, but instead you should be aware of what is available and useful for your particular situation. And we talk about hundreds of different tax deductions and tax credits on this channel all the time. So please make sure you are subscribed to our channel if you haven't already, so you stay in the loop of everything that we cover. But some of these tax benefits are only reserved for certain people, which is why we need to talk about number 5, tax incentives for business owners and investors. So as I mentioned in my first point, taxes are a way to pay for government services both internally and externally. But it seems that citizens simply paying taxes and governments providing services are not enough to build and sustain a thriving economy. For example, a thriving economy is one where there are many quality jobs available so that people can earn a living. And who provides the jobs? Entrepreneurs. Also, a thriving economy is one where people have quality and affordable places to live. And who provides housing? Real estate investors. And look, I follow a CPA named Tom Wheelwright, and I like the way he breaks it down with this flow chart. Okay, the government wants to create more jobs in housing, so they give tax breaks to entrepreneurs and real estate investors to encourage job growth in housing. And thus, this helps build and sustain a thriving economy, which everyone benefits from, right? Like the government benefits from it, entrepreneurs, investors, and everyday hardworking Americans who need to earn a living wage. And so that's why business owners can write off stuff like vehicle expenses or travel expenses and meals and entertainment expenses or uniform and clothing expenses and take depreciation on their assets and get job tax credits and so much more. And that's why I am such an advocate for entrepreneurship, and I make videos on how people can grow their business as well. But it is very important to note that you shouldn't start a business just for the tax benefits, because paying taxes is less expensive than operating a failing business. And if you try to game the tax system, you're going to end up playing yourself and you could end up in prison. So if you start a business, it's really important that you do it because, okay, you really want to, like you believe in an idea that's going to help people and provide value to others. Now, in addition to the various tax deductions and tax credits that entrepreneurs and investors receive, they also get to leverage number 6, different types of income. So for tax purposes, there are 2 types of income. Okay, you have earned income and then you have unearned income. So
all right, that's just a breakdown of that. How he's talking about entrepreneurship, how he's talking about different math. This subject is big. This subject is something that we're going to go through. This subject is that, but we're going to return to this question just for time constraints. Why is it important to understand how your paycheck is calculated? And how can this knowledge help you plan your finances? Remember, there's no right or wrong answers. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it, but put that in the chat. So how do we keep moving forward from that aspect? So everyone, it's accurate budgeting. Yep, very simple and great answer, Rosie. Thank you, Mr. Zavala. Thank you, Ms. Medina. All right, get a couple more people, get it going. Almost got everybody to see to make sure. All right, cool. Thank you guys for answering that and good that. It's good to know how much money you get and make sure to take care of your money. It's very important. All right, so we will go on to the next slide. All right, so now we will be getting out of the financial section, but I hope you guys head to that the how should I say, the field trip, because you're gonna be able to visualize everything that we're talking about right now. So that's the cool part. You're gonna be able to understand, like, all right, this is the little subjects that you take in hand because you're gonna be in a simulation, and that simulation is gonna teach you how to use money, what not to buy, what not to. So it's pretty cool. So I do hope you guys take advantage of that. For this weekend, it is not available because that registration has closed, but I believe you have till Friday to verify the registration for the February 14th. But next class, we're just now going to break into traditional problem solving. We're going to break into stuff like that. But we will go to the next slide. And I'll give you 1 minute. Put on some music. Well, 1 minute and a half to just make sure your work on your workbook, figure it out, turn it in, be a productive citizen. So we'll go from there. And this is if you have any questions. So you have any questions, you could ask them now too also. But just fill out your workbook. This is an internship and you get paid. Might as well take advantage of it. All right, hopefully you guys are ready to wrap things up. We will continue to go. Now, like I said, um, we have the field trip. It's similar field trip, but we do have one coming up this weekend, which is already full, but we still have the ability to go next weekend and take advantage of it. The Junior Achievement Finance Park, pretty cool. I'm gonna try to be there this weekend, I believe, if time permits. So, if not, Ignite Spirit series post survey. If you went, fill it out. February 6th is pretty awesome. Student leader form is now open. So if you want to be a student leader and put SL and get a little bit more responsibilities, please let us know. And they are offering, our organization, Youth Champions, is offering free Mustang immersive experience. It's the history about the Ford Mustang. It's free. Like, you guys are in LA, take advantage of it. I applied. When I'm in LA, I'm gonna go to the Ford Mustang immersive. It has 3D shows, history, movies, multi-sensor, so it's pretty cool. And then First Generation Career Institute is now open, and there's no alumni here, so it's irrelevant. But Joanna will fill in any gaps that I've missed or anything of that just before the class is over.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pablo. As always, you're amazing. And thank you everyone for attending today's class. Now, just to quickly make things clear on the announcements. For the college match program, if you're currently on it, please fill out the quick form in the chat box below. Now, if you don't know about this, you probably might not part of the college match program, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, regarding the Mustang immersive experience, if you want to join this one, please fill out the form that is in the chat box as well. You could bring up to three family members or classmates or friends that you could bring with this one. So every sign up you do is you will receive like a unique code, coupon code, that you will be entering to the website when you check out for the free ticket. So the website link is also in the chat box. If you are bringing 4 people with you or 3 people with you, you have to do the sign up three times so that you could get 3 unique codes for the free tickets. So that's all for me. Thank you, everyone. We will be letting you go early today. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you guys enjoy your day today. Bye.
All right, appreciate you guys. If you guys have any questions, stay behind. If not, go to your next class.
Bye. Bye, everyone.